Hello there, hello there. I am starting just a couple minutes early to check my feeds. If you're watching, hang around while I pick my nose for a second. I'll actually get started here on time, so you're not actually going to miss anything because I'm starting early. Looks like I'm live on YouTube. Let me check the other channels here. I'm checking Twitch and LinkedIn. I am live on LinkedIn. Twitch seems to be lagging. What's going on here? Maybe it's working. Twitch claims to be on, it says offline, but I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. All right, I am live on all three channels. If you're joining me, say hi. Send us a chat message. I'd love to make this an interactive session. Let me know where you're watching from if you feel like it. South of Spain. Bienvenido. All right. All right. I think it's 3 o'clock here where I am. I guess it's 9 o'clock in Spain. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first I'm going to do some introduction about the topic, the project I'm working on. Because otherwise what I'm doing probably isn't going to make a whole lot of sense. When I last year I did some of this live streaming. It's been a while. It's been a year, I think, more than a year since I did this, because I was packing up my studio and putting it in boxes and moving across the world. I was in the Netherlands last time I did this. Now I'm in the US. So last year when I was live streaming, I was building a feature for the same project I'm going to be working on today, but a slightly different feature. There's some similarities. Let's see here. So my open source project is called Kivik. It is an open source, of course, library for CouchDB for the Go language. CouchDB is a NoSQL database, kind of similar in many ways to MongoDB, but it's completely open source. It's actually older than MongoDB. Mongo copied some features from CouchDB. Anyway, I've written this client library or SDK, if you will, for Go and for CouchDB. I'm going to add a feature to it. I'm going to start on that today. The feature I'm adding is so one of the core design principles of Kivik, one of the main things about this package is it works kind of like, if you're familiar with Go, the database SQL drivers in Go. So you have a single client interface and multiple backend drivers, and you have the same in most languages, JDBC or whatever SQL interface you use in your language. It's the same concept. You have the front end driver that's basically the same, and the front end the sort of client library, and then back end drivers that you can plug in, whether you want to talk to Postgres or Oracle or MySQL or Microsoft SQL or whatever. So CouchDB does the same thing, and of course, most people use the CouchDB interface because they want to talk to CouchDB. There's also a PouchDB interface. PouchDB is a JavaScript library that runs in the browser. So if you're building your code using Gopher.js, you can integrate with PouchDB. And then I have a few other interfaces. I have the one I was working on last year was for SQLite. And the intention there was to use SQLite for testing purposes. So you don't have to spin up an actual CouchDB instance, like in a Docker container, for example, while you're running your tests if you're writing code that uses CouchDB. The feature I'm going to be adding starting today is to do the same concept, but for Postgres. My intended use case is a little bit different here, but technically it'll be a similar thing. We'll be building a Postgres backend for Kivik. So in other words, you can use Postgres as your literal database backend, but it will act like CouchDB. Why would you want that? The use case I have in mind is to be able to use managed Postgres instances on Google or Amazon Cloud, for example, RDS or whatever. They provide easy to use managed instances of this, but they don't provide easy to use managed instances of CouchDB. So by using this simple software layer, you could use CouchDB on Amazon or on Google or DigitalOcean or whatever. And then I imagine after I build the library, I can build a little serverless function that you could just pop into your cloud and talk to that, and that would do the translation for you. So that's kind of my intended use case here for people such as myself who want to use CouchDB on the project, but don't want to take on the full responsibility of managing a CouchDB cluster in the cloud. This is a way to do it. Hopefully, the goal is to make it a way to do that. It's a little bit easier to manage. Maybe you still, once you scale, you probably still want to use proper CouchDB, but maybe for your development environment or your staging environment, you want to use this, or maybe you have a simple app that doesn't require large scale, and this would still be a use case for that. So that's the goal there. All right, so I've got my IDE open here, and we're just going to get started. I'm going to clean up some temp files here. To make this a little easier. So here's my directory structure, and I'm going to put this new module in the /x directory. The reason for that, just like I did with SQL, or SQLite rather. So these are just sort of experimental things. And so once it gets to the point where it's mature and working, I'll move it, I'll promote it to be a full-fledged driver. But for now, we're going to put it here. Now I have to decide on a name. I think I'll just go with PG. That's a common abbreviation for Postgres. I could use PGX because that's probably the driver I'll be using, but I don't necessarily think that detail matters to users. So I think I'll just call it PG. And like I did for SQLite, I'm going to create a separate module. You'll see there's a go.mod file in here in the SQLite directory. So I don't usually use submodules, but the core Kivik package needs to support old versions of Go all the way back to 1.17 for reasons that don't matter today. But I don't want to build my Postgres adapter with such an ancient version of Go. I want to use newer features. So I'm going to create my own go.mod. And I suppose I'll just use the current version of Go. I'm actually, what version do I have installed right now? 1.24. 1.25 just came out a couple days ago. But for now, I'll probably just use Go 1.24 right now. There's no relevant new features in 1.25 that would be a reason for me to upgrade right now. So it doesn't really matter. But just for simplicity, I'll stick with Go 1.24. So let's do go mod init. And then the path is github.com/go kivik/x/pg. Go mod tidy. I'm not sure it's doing what I wanted. I may have used the wrong syntax. Let's see what happens here. And if you have questions as I'm going, please let me know in chat. If I do something confusing, if you have questions, if you notice a mistake, I'd love to hear from you. So it created a go.mod. Did it? No, it just updated the ones up there. That's not what I wanted. Hello from India. Welcome. All right, let me try this again. Go mod, is it go mod init dot maybe? No. Module path. That's what I thought. That's what I just did. Oh, I put it in the wrong place. So that's silly. That's the problem. So I need to change to the PG directory. Let's try this again. There we go. Let's create a branch now for my PG work. Check out PG. There we go. Now you'll notice here that Go mod is tagging the specific version of Go I'm using, 1.24.4. I don't really want to do that. I want to do 1.24. I don't really care which version of 1.24. There's no specific features in 1.24.4 I want. So if somebody wants to install this with 1.24.2, I want it to work. Go mod edit go equals 1.24. I think that's the command to do that. Oh, I need to do dash go. There we go. All right, let's create a commit here. Initial commit for PG driver module. All right. Now, I'm literally starting from scratch. There's nothing going on here. Got a question on LinkedIn if I missed the Netherlands. There are some things I miss about the Netherlands. I miss the public transportation. I miss some of the food, good cheese, good beer. It's hard to find interesting craft beers here where I am. I like craft beer. So yeah, there's some things I miss. I don't miss the weather. The weather here where I am is something I enjoy a lot more. Warmer weather. Yeah. How do you manage multiple Go versions? Do you mean running on your local machine? I usually don't. I just usually install the latest version of Go. There are some tools. I'm not really very familiar with them that will let you switch between Go versions. So I don't have a good answer for that. It's not something I really ever deal with, honestly. Yeah, I usually don't need to. Also, you usually don't need to because with modern versions of Go, since version 1.21, I think, if your go.mod requires a different Go version than what you have installed, it will just download it for you. It won't install it like in your path, but it will download it for that project. So you don't really need to worry about that. Usually, when you're installing or building other people's projects, it'll just install the correct version anyway. So yeah, it's not a problem I have. So if you want to, if that didn't answer your question or you wanted to clarify it, feel free to. Okay, so I'm going to start by implementing a test suite. Now I have. It's a really old. One of the first things I wrote when I started on this project back in, I don't remember, 2016 or 17 or something, was I built a fairly extensive test suite that is embarrassingly bad, but it works, so I'm going to use it. And it does sort of integration or sort of end-to-end tests of a sort based on expectations. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to try to get that set up and running. Of course, it won't work because there's no code here yet, but I'm going to start by getting that going. So first step, I'm going to copy the structure used in the CouchDB directory, which is this test folder. So let's make that. And then I'm going to create a test.go, and I'll call it pg test.go. And I'm going to copy contents essentially and modify them as needed. What just happened there? There we go. Something weird is going on. Something is automatically adding this. I don't know why. I mean, actually, this is what I want, but I didn't ask it to be added, so I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe Copilot is being too smart for me. I'm not sure. So I'm going to put the CouchDB version over here on the right. Now, let me zoom in a little bit to make this hopefully easier to read. All right, so I do need to copy, because this is Apache licensed, they want this header at the top of every file, which feels a bit redundant, but hey, whatever. All right, let's do this, package test. I put those in the wrong directory. So let's fix that. Okay. All right. So for the Postgres. Now, the main thing I need to do here is just register the test suite. The reason it's like this is historical, and I don't even remember the details, really, and I'm not going to worry about it right now. So here I have support for several old versions of CouchDB. I'm going to remove some of these older ones fairly soon, deprecate them. But for now, I'm not going to worry about the version of Postgres unless it matters. So I'm just going to call it register suite PG. Of course, that doesn't do anything yet. But let me create this function. I'll just put it in the same file in this case. For CouchDB, I have separate files because I have so many versions of CouchDB. It's nice to keep those separate, but I'm not going to do that for this. Let's see. You know what? I'll just copy this whole thing, and then I'm going to delete all but the beginning and end. I'm going to delete all the contents and just use default. So these are basically like overrides for the test suite. Delete most of them, or all of them for now, and I'll be again adding them back in bit by bit as we flesh out the driver. My first goal, though, is just to get the tests running. That way we'll know when things are working or not. There's a lot here. Delete, delete, delete. This is not the most efficient way, but whatever. Getting close now. I want to rename this again. Suite PG, which doesn't exist yet, but that's okay. I will fix that momentarily. So back to the top here. So I need to add a constant that matches the suite name. So you can see I have the different CouchDB versions. I have auto detect. I don't know what that does. CouchDB local remote, and then a couple other ones here. So I'm going to add suite PG. I suppose that comment is really very useful. Now this is not happy for some reason, and I'm not sure why. Let me try manually fixing the import thing here. It's not liking that. Oh, probably because I need to do this. Because it's not in the Go mod. Will that fix it? By the way, I should have done this at the beginning, a sound check. Do I sound okay to everybody? Can you hear me okay? I suppose the answer is probably yes, or I would have seen some complaints in chat. It's still not working. What's wrong? Could not import, no required. Not sure why it's not resolving that. Oh, I should fix this. Package test. Okay, that took care of that. Although this sweet PG is not happy. Did I misspell it? Oh, I know why that is. This is annoying. This is one of the annoying things about having multiple Go modules in the same project. It's fetching the version of this package that's on GitHub and has been tagged, but I just added this here, so it hasn't been tagged yet. So what I need to do to fix this? Oh, this is annoying. Let me just add that. I'm going to add just that single constant. Now I push the branch up to GitHub. Now I can tell it to fetch this specific version of the package. Good. And that will pin it to the very particular commit. Now, if I ever rebase this before merging, then that, of course, that commit will be wrong. So hopefully I won't do that. Eventually I want to update this to a tagged version, but this should solve the problem for at least for now. Let's see. It still doesn't think it exists, but let's see if I can make this do anything here. Let's try this register suite. I don't know where those suites are defined. Hey, I've got a couple new commenters. Thanks for joining. What's the project about? I'm building a couch. I'm building a driver for my CouchDB client library that lets Postgres emulate CouchDB. And so I'm starting with the test suite right now. I'm trying to get the test suite running. I expect it to fail, but I'm trying to get it running right now. And I'm having some dependency issues. Okay, let's just do this the right way. How about that? I'm just going to make a whip. I'm going to cherry pick this to a new branch. Sweet PG. So now I can push that up to GitHub. And I can merge that. Should be pretty quick to do that. Need to let the CI scripts run, but that should be pretty quick. And once that all is done, I can merge, and then at least I won't have to worry about that commit ever changing. Yes, I do use Debian. That's true. Yeah, so it's still not a tagged version. I'm not going to tag a new version just for this tiny little constant change that nobody cares about, but at least it'll be a constant, or at least that commit SHA won't change in the future if I ever rebase the branch. While we're waiting for this to run, let me mention, I have a daily mailing list where I talk about Go. If you're interested in that, I'd love for you to join me. head over to boldlygo.tech/daily, put in your email address, and I'll send you daily information about Go. I'm talking about Go routines right now this last few weeks. So I'd love to have you join that list. And yeah, I also announce when I'm doing these live streams. Questions asking about why so many test jobs. Well, because I'm testing a bunch of different versions of Go. You should be able to see that here. Go all the way back to 1.17. 3 different versions of Go for JS. So these all have to be done with different builds. So they can't be done in the same. They can't easily be done in the same container. So that's how we're doing that. Question is, why? What am I building? I'm building a CouchDB compatibility layer on top of Postgres. And do I use Python? No, do not. So most of these will finish right about the same time. Oh, and then we also have 3 jobs for SQLite, that package. We'll have the same issue here with Postgres. I won't have 3 versions of Go. I'll have just 1.24 probably. I'm not going to go back to 22 and 23. But 124, and then once I add 125 support, which is pretty straightforward, I'll probably have 2. What is CouchDB? CouchDB is a NoSQL database, similar to Mongo, predates Mongo by several years, and it's completely open source. So it lets you store JSON documents and index them and so on. All right, we're almost done here. We just got 4 jobs left. They should all be finishing soon. 3. Almost there. Two. Is CouchDB widely used? For certain niches, it is. It is used by some big companies use it. It scales really well, which is one reason it's popular. You can just add nodes to it, and I mean, it's not quite that easy, but you can just add nodes, and it continues to scale. And its strongest suit from my perspective, is that it's designed for offline first usage. So it's really easy to synchronize with offline devices. So let's say you, one example use case that I know that has been used, I think it's the U.S. Forestry Service. They have PouchDB on their on some tablets they use out in the forest when they're looking at trees to see which trees are healthy or need to be cut down or whatever they're doing. So they go out, they take pictures, and do the readings and so on, and then. But they're often out in the middle of the woods where there's no Wi-Fi signal, there's no cellular service or whatever. So they use that, and then when they get back to their car or back to the network, it can synchronize really easily with their centralized database. So sometimes CouchDB is called a synchronization protocol with a database tacked on, as opposed to what most databases are, which is a database with a custom-built synchronization protocol built on. All right, let's update the working copy now. What am I doing wrong here? Go. Let me just look at what I'm doing here. Go get blah at, and then copy the SHA. Is in the main modules. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. That's why. XPG. Question was what distro am I using? I'm using Debian. Debian 12 still. Haven't upgraded to 13 quite yet. Now let's see if that solves the problem. This is still complaining. Let me restart my editor. Sometimes VS Code doesn't like to refresh. Yeah, that seemed to have solved it. Now it seems to resolve it. Okay, good. Now, there's just one more piece I need to do before I can prove that my tests are completely broken, because there's no code yet. And that is to set up this. Oh, I put this on the wrong file. So this actually all needs to go over here in this file. And then I'll remove the duplicate stuff here. So here I need init. And it's going to be register. What was it called over here? Register PG suites, even though there's actually only one. I suppose I should give this some Go doc so it doesn't complain. All right, and then create a function that actually runs the tests. And we're going to call this test PG. And I don't think this argument is used at all anymore. I forgot to remove it on a previous refactor, so I'll just leave it blank. I'll leave it unused for now. If it proves to be necessary, I will fix that as let's call it to do, actually. I may need to fix that later. I'm not sure. Anyway, the test suite should be wired up now and should completely fail, of course. Let's just verify that. Okay, I'm not sure why it is trying to use. Oh, actually, I do know why it's trying to do that. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So it's, I forgot. It's trying to start Docker. This function does that. I might not want to use that function. Let me see. Let me see if I did it for SQLite, or am I even doing this for SQLite? I may have forgotten to do that. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not even doing that for SQLite. I'm not using the same test suite. Why not NeoVM? Because I hate VI. I absolutely hate VI. I do need to, well, I'm not ready to do that yet. Let's see. So the problem here is that this do test function tries to start a Docker image before it does anything, which is appropriate for CouchDB. It's not appropriate for this. Let me see if is that the only place it's used? Find all references. Let me do it over here. Find all references. Yeah, it's only used in CouchDB right now. So arguably that function should actually exist in the CouchDB thing directly, not here. And then I should use, let me try moving that. I think that might be a better way to do this. I don't want to do that. It's kind of a side tangent. I don't want to get too distracted with that right now. Had a question if I plan to use any LLMs for this project. I might. August 7. Somebody asked, is August 7 today or have we gone back in time? It is not August 7 today. I don't know the reference though. So And I see a comment that someone misses auto merge from GitLab. Yeah, GitHub has that too, but I think you have to pay for it. I have it on one project I work on with a client, but I haven't figured out how to enable it for my own. So I'm guessing it's a paid feature. So I think, let me see. I think I want to use. I did mention that this test suite was clunky, right? Let me see how PouchDB does it. So I'm actually streaming. Someone asked if I'm seeing Twitch chat. I haven't seen any comments from Twitch just yet. No, I have. I saw one or two. Wait, hang on. Maybe I didn't. Let me just double check that I'm not ignoring anything there. So I'm streaming to 3 different platforms right now: YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn. I don't see any comments from Twitch yet. Mostly on YouTube, I see comments, but I've been getting a few on LinkedIn, and they obviously don't cross post to each other, so you don't get to see. If you're on LinkedIn, you only see LinkedIn's chat. If you're on YouTube, you only see YouTube's chat, etc. Okay, so let's see how does PouchDB handle this? They call this function. What does it do? It's also calling. Oh yeah, I do remember that actually. But this is what I want to look at. It calls run test internal. So I want to kind of copy that. I want to copy this. Yes. Let me just copy this over to here. I don't know why this is capitalized because it's not, doesn't need to be exported, but whatever. PG is the name of the new driver. This should be /v4. I think I can just do it like this. At least for now. If I ever add multiple test suites, I might split that out to a new function. I think that'll solve my problem for now. Let's see if the tests fail as expected. Yay, they're failing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a commit with these particular changes. How many years of software development have you do you have? How many years of experience? Well, I first started programming when I was 8.5 on my dad's Commodore 64, and I'm 45 now. So do the math. I got my first programming job in 2006, I think. But I had run my own business that used some programming before that for a while. I ran a little ISP where I didn't do extensive programming, but I did mostly scripting type stuff for a while there. So yeah, a while. Okay, so the error we have here it says unknown driver PG. That is because I haven't haven't imported the driver for Postgres. If we look at these other test suites, I saw it somewhere. We have this. I should not comment this. So I need to do essentially the same thing for Postgres, for the PG driver, I should say. The path is xpg. We're going to have another problem now. And that is that this v4 depends on a tag, and the Postgres driver has not been tagged yet. Let me think how I'm going to solve this. I think to solve it for now, I can just do it. No, actually, that should work because the module has the same name, right? Oh, I bet it doesn't. Yeah, I gave this the wrong name. This should be called Go This should have a v4 in it. So that will solve the problem of resolving this import path. Except that there's still no Go code in this directory. So let's fix that. One of the quickest ways to do that is just to create a file that has a package. I like declaration. I like to use a thing called doc.go for that, because it puts the top level of the Go doc in it as well. So let's highlight this, copy that over, package PG. There we go. And I can put additional Go doc here in the future. If I need to talk about connection strings, whatever, I'll do that in the future. For now, this is enough to make that particular error go away, I think. Yeah, now it loads this package. So let's make a commit here. Couple comments here in chat. Let's see. Got a question. What was my highest salary? Probably right now is my highest salary. Although I don't really earn all my money as a salary, so it's a complicated question, complicated answer. I run my own business. I have different consulting clients or clients I do consulting or coding for. I have a few folks like you that I do mentoring with that they pay me a little bit. Yeah, so it's not a salary per se. I have several different income streams. And then the question, what am I writing? I am writing a Postgres or a CouchDB compatibility layer on top of Postgres. I just realized I'm not showing my code full screen. Let me go ahead and do that. That might make it easier for anybody. You don't need to see my head all the time. Hang on, that's not good. It said my audio is removed. Hang on, I'm going to try to fix this problem real quick. Oh, here we go. There's a better way to do it. Okay. Okay, so now you should be able to see my code a little bit bigger. At any point, did you ever feel like sometimes you are making a lot of small mistakes? Or is it just me that sometimes I feel like I don't understand? I'm always making mistakes. I've made 100 mistakes already just in the last 43 minutes that we've been coding. So yeah, I make mistakes all the time. That's one reason I use test-driven development. It helps me catch my mistakes much sooner. My database professor terrified me and made SQL so hard, 17-page exams of handwritten SQL queries with 60 minutes. Don't know what to say about that. Sorry. I've never taken a Postgres or SQL course, so I don't I don't identify, but it doesn't sound like fun. So someone said they only know Python. They don't know what I'm doing. I'm writing I'm using Go. Shouldn't be that foreign. I'm sure you don't know Go, but shouldn't be that foreign of a syntax. All right, let's continue. So I was going to run the test again. And we still have the same error. Why? The reason is because although we're now importing this package, the package doesn't actually register a driver as it needs to. So let's solve that problem. I can close a bunch of this stuff now. I'm no longer interested in copying those tests. A very specific error I'm trying to solve. So let's focus on solving that. I'm going to make my main package main file in the package called pg.go. PG. I need to copy the header again for every file. It's so annoying. All right. Now, to make this work, I need to in the init function, I need to call the function that registers the PG driver with Kivik. To just refresh my memory on how that's done, I'm going to look at how CouchDB driver does that. Kivik, where let me do it on this side. It's a better view. Okay, I don't need PouchDB. I don't need MockDB. I want where is it? Where is it? My good, there we go. CouchDB, and then I'm not sure what file I want. This doesn't look like what I was expecting. Because it's not. Okay, what just happened there? Okay, you know what? I'm going to do this the other way. CouchDB.go. There we go. That's what I want. There. This is what I'm looking for. And work our way backwards to the goal. So we need to call this PG. This needs to be version 4. And then now I need, obviously this is an invalid type. I need to define a type. So I called it couch before. I'm not sure if that's the best way. I think I'll call it driver. That seems maybe, well, let me think. Driver might be annoying because I might want a variable called driver at some point. In fact, that would be annoying because there's already a package called that. So I guess I'll call it PG. Why not? And then I'm going to do this. Var driver.driver equals, no, yeah, that's right. And then change this to PG. Now, what this does, if anybody's not familiar, this defines a global variable called underscore, which is discarded. Underscore means discard the thing. But it's of type driver.driver, which is an interface type. We can see that's its definition right here. And then it assigns a pointer to PG to it. And it's read because the PG struct does not implement that driver's interface yet. So we need to add some methods to it. This is where it's useful to pull this up because we can see a list of things we need to do. We have the same error here. We have it both places. So this won't actually be used at runtime. This gets optimized away during compilation, but it's a nice sort of in-editor check, or it's a compilation type check of the thing. But it's useful for this sort of stuff. So I need to add some methods, and the method I'm missing is called open. Now, if I go over here, I could pull this up in the other window, and it just sort of serves my documentation as I'm going. Let's add an open method. Now, I'm not worried about making it doing anything right now. I'll be adding tests, or I'll flesh out the test suite that I have. Right now, I just want it to compile. So I'm just going to have it do return nil, comma nil. That should be enough to make it compile. This is complaining about something still. I'm actually confused by that. Oh, I see the problem. This is the wrong driver. This automatically pulled in database SQLite driver. I don't give a I was going to say a bad word. I don't give a rat's rear end about that. I care about the Kivik driver package. All right, let's try that now. Yeah, there we go. So I need to implement this new client method instead. Now, again, I don't really care. I don't want it to do anything right now. I just want to make it compile. So I'll return nil, comma nil. And now it's complaining that linter's complaining that these arguments aren't used. So I'll just delete those for the moment. Now, my linter will complain about exported methods that don't have godoc, but you might think this is an exported method, but notice that PG is not exported. So this isn't actually an exported method. So I'm not going to worry about creating godoc on that. But let's run the test now and see what happens. All right, there we go. Very different error message. Let's go ahead and commit this. Minimal driver implementation for PG. But we notice it still fails because it's an invalid memory or nil pointer dereference. That's because I'm returning nil here, and then it's trying to use it. So we'll work on fixing that next. Now the question, I got a question on chat here. What other programming languages do you know? I have used quite a number of languages over the years. My first programming language was Commodore 64 Basic V2 back in the late 80s, I guess. I have, let's see, then I learned Pascal. I learned C and a little bit of C++ in high school. I did Perl for many years. My first programming job, I used Perl, JavaScript, and Go. I've dabbled in a few others, Lua. I guess if you cut them programming languages, SQL, PGSQL, HTML, CSS a little bit, although I'm not a front-end developer at all. Macro language called M4. I don't know, a bunch of other little random things. All right, so what I'm going to work on next is sort of fleshing. I want to return a non-nil thing here, right? I'm still not interested in adding capability, functional capabilities. I just want to add something so that the program doesn't crash. It's kind of the idea of test-driven development. I have a test, it's crashing or it's failing. Crashing or failing to compile are considered failures, TDD. I want to write the minimum amount of code to make it pass, to make it not fail. So let's create a type called client, which you can see I've already done it with CouchDB. I had the same thing here. So I'm going to do it here. Type client struct. Once again, I'm going to do this. And this will tell me what methods are missing. So you can see the first one missing is something called alldbs. I think I'm going to start that in a new file. I like to have a sort of one file per type, if you will. Sometimes that's how I've organized it in this project anyway. I don't always do it that way, but once again, I need to copy silly boilerplate license message. So now let's open. I don't need that file right now. I want to open this up. Why isn't it working? No definition for client. What did I do wrong here? Oh, DB. I confused it. Confused myself. Somebody asked if I make mistakes. You saw it firsthand. Okay, so I need to implement these various methods. Now, once again, I'm not going to make them do anything right now. I just want to implement them. So this actually would be a good place to use an LLM, I think. Where's my chat? Why don't I see my chat? It used to be here. Oh, here. There it is. Okay, agent mode. Please add necessary methods to make client satisfy the driver.client interface. Make all methods return nils or other is. See how this goes. Am I following TDD? Yes, I pretty much always try to use TDD when I'm coding. Yeah, thanks, Frank, for the suggestion. I just found it there after you, or right before I saw your message. This is taking a while. I'm not sure if this is actually any faster than what I can do myself. Creating empty functions is pretty trivial. Oh, there we go. Stub functions. And now what else? It removed all the variable names. All right. I think it's done. All right, let's see how the tests go. It's probably still going to crash, but it should crash somewhere else, because now it's crashing when all docs returns nil rather than returning something useful. But let's commit our progress. I don't want that comment there. Why did it move the client type? I don't know. Move the client definition over here. I don't care. I don't need a comment on there either. I should have just done this myself in this case, using the LLM. Means I have to do more cleanup. And this should go at the top, right under there. Yeah, but it's fine. All right. Let's look at that error message again. So we're looking at all docs. I'm not sure what it's calling there, so I'm going to actually look that up. Must be calling all docs, but I'm not sure why. Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly what's failing there. Line 91. I am confused. Why is this crashing? What is it? What is crashing? Trying to call all docs. It is one of the methods on here, right? No, maybe not. So why is this happening? I have the feeling that there's a missing function here, but oh, I see. Yeah, that's part of the DB interface. So yeah, we need to do that next. So basically, DB here returns a driver.db, which is a nil, causing the exact same problem as before. So let's create the DB file. And do the same stub implementation concept for that. I'm going to do this myself, though. I think I can do a better job than the LLM and almost as fast. So we're going to do type db struct var. Okay. Now let's pull that up over here. Oh, I already got it up over here. So we just need to implement. There's much more methods there, but we're going to do it ourselves. I suspect that Copilot will start to learn what I'm doing and make this faster as we go along. Func db put. You know what I can do to hint ChatGPT? I can copy this over here. This will help hint to ChatGPT. I don't know what bulk docs I want delete. I don't know why it keeps jumping to bulk docs. I just noticed it's putting variable names in there, which probably don't need, but I'll fix that next. Query. And finally close. Whoops. Okay, I made a typo somewhere. Delete doesn't have the right arguments. So I have context string driver, and I want context string driver. So let's get rid of one of those strings. Let's get rid of these variable names too while we're at it. And I don't need, wait a minute. I'm totally in the wrong place here. Here we go. There we go. Wrong type for get. I want string, context string driver options. I have context string. Oh, it's returning the wrong thing. It needs to return pointer to driver dot, was it document? Driver dot document, yeah. And then all these unused things. Let's get rid of those. Why is this complete? Oh, because there's one more there. I think that's it. All right, I got another failure. Worry about, let me. Looks like the same line though. What am I doing wrong there? Oh, I know why. I forgot to have this return the thing. So DB needs to return an empty DB instance. There we go. Now, I could keep doing this for all the stub implementations I need, but I don't want to bother with that much stubbing before I can start making progress. So what I'm going to do now is have these things return an error. Now, there's this spiffy little thing in the standard library that was added in a recent version of Go. Let me find it here. Error unsupported was added. It doesn't say here. I think it was in 1.22 or something like that. It was fairly recent, in the last year or two. But I'm going to return that for all of these things. And then at least I'll get an error unsupported when that's the case rather than a crash. I still think it's useful to have done client and DB stub implementations, since those are going to be used for virtually everything. And then I'll add the other stubs later on as I come upon them, like driver.rows and stuff like that. I'll add those implementations as I come to them. I don't want to spend the whole time doing all that boilerplate before I do something that, at least to me, is more interesting. Actually, I'll leave close alone. I'm going to remove these comments that aren't necessary. All right, that's more like what I'm expecting. Now all these tests are reporting unsupported operation, which is great. So now we are going to work on updating the test suite expectations so that the test passes. And then we can pick one function at a time or one method at a time to implement. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm just going to run the test. And let's see, I'm going to pull up an example to reference while we're doing this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically just tell all these tests to skip for now. So the way I do that is I think the way I do that is I put the name of the test. Actually, before I do that, let me just run the test suite for a single test so that I can verify. I'll just do this one here. So now I don't see all the failures. I just see that one. Now I'll know for sure if disabling this test worked. I think the way to do that is security.skip true. We'll see if that works. It did. Okay. So now I'm going to just do the same thing for all these other tests. I don't even need this right now. Let's do destroy DB. So I can do that for the top level test name, and it disables all the ones underneath as well. So basically, once I have all these tests being skipped, then that serves as my checklist. I can start implementing these one at a time, and once all the skips are gone, then I can be fairly confident that my driver works. I'm not really worried about the order right now, since I'm just trying to get this get them all in here. But eventually, I may want to reorder some of this stuff. To be sure, not all of these methods will be implemented in the PatchDB driver. Not all of them are implemented by any driver. So there's certain features that are sort of optional, and we may or may not implement all of them. We'll decide what makes sense as we go along. And some of the capabilities are possible to emulate by calling lower level functions if we don't implement them ourselves. Getting close here. I think that's it. This last failure isn't actually a test failure. It's a test cleanup failure. So let me look into that one. See what it's trying to do here. Test 3. I don't know if you know what file that is. I think it's reporting the wrong file there. I think it's this file. Pre-cleanup failed. So what is it? Something here is failing. It's not very clear what. It just says unsupported operation. Databases. Probably add. Okay, yeah, here. Add some context. What? That's not what I'm trying to do. Oh, yeah, okay. Guess that's right. Still not sure. What is it trying to tell me there? Oh, you know what? I just realized because I'm working on a submodule, these changes I'm making right now to this file won't be effective in the test I'm working on. I have to do that whole update thing again, which is annoying. But basically, this function is just supposed to clean up some stale databases. I want to make sure that I'm logging all those errors. I'll bet it's this error here, that this is the first one it's hitting. It's trying to call all DBs, and that's failing because that's not implemented yet. But let me just make sure that I have all these errors properly logging. Then I can make that. So this is interesting. That errors unimplemented I just talked about, it really should be supported by this function here, which it's not right now. Before I use it. So I think I will make it do that. And then that would solve part of this problem, because then some of these would just would be solved properly. Because basically it's checking if it gets unimplemented, then it doesn't really consider an error. I'm going to do another branch to implement this change so I can get it into main so I can reference it, just like before. I have a comment here. What am I working on? I am building a CouchDB compatibility layer for Postgres. Now, I'm going to make that change I just mentioned for the error handling to support the errors dot unimplemented, because that's a nice little shortcut. And then that's enough of a feature to actually, well, I suppose it could be enough of a feature to warrant a tag, except nothing would be using it yet. But I'm gonna do that here. So basically, I just need to add a little check here. Now I need to. Oh, it's tricky. This is tricky because this was only added. I don't remember which version it was added in. Usually there's a little comment here, like here, you see it says added in Go 1.113. It doesn't do that for this for some reason. So I need to look it up somewhere else. Golang release notes, and I'll search for that and see if that finds it. Go 1.21. Yes, so it was added to 1.21. So I've already mentioned that this needs to support Go versions all the way back to 1.17. So I need to make this change. Let me show you the change I want to make, and then I'll explain why I can't make it this way. Errors.is error. what's the name of the status? Not implemented. That's what it is. That's the change I want to make, right? What's the HTTP status there? The number 501. That's actually not implemented. So that's the change I want to make. I'm going to go ahead and create a pull request. So that we can see in action why it fails, but I can talk about it in the meantime. I technically should have done 2 pull requests since I'm changing 2 unrelated things. Approved error messages in Kivik test for DB cleanup and handle Okay, so the problem here is that this feature was only added in Go 1.21. This feature, this variable, but I need my thing to support Go all the way back to 1.17. So this will start to fail. This new code I just added will fail as like an unresolved symbol for versions 1.17, 18, 19, and 20, which we should see here very shortly when they start failing in CI. So the solution to this is slightly annoying, but not too undoable. I need to create, I need to basically put this, I could either do the whole function or just this part of the function in a separate file. The key is I need to put this in a separate file that I can put build tags around, right? Let's do errors 121.go and errors pre 121.go, I guess. It's not really a good naming convention for all this, but I don't know if I want do it like this. Once again, I have to copy this silly license into both files. So I think the way I'm going to solve this, I don't want to, so I could move this whole thing. A couple options. I could move this entire function into the 2 duplicate files. Actually, before I talk about that, let me put the build constraints in place. So this is for 121. So this would be 1.21. Is that the right format? I don't remember. Let me just ask Copilot. Okay, it is correct. Then I do the opposite over here. Put a not in front of it. Okay. So now this version of the file will be built when using 121 or newer. This version will be used for older versions, right? So I could move this entire function into those and then have 2 versions of the function. That would work. I could move just this little if bit into the 2 things in a new function and have this function call that function. I'm going to do this, though. I'm going to just have this reference this variable called unsupported which in 121 will equal error unsupported. And in the older version, I'll just have it reference. Could I just have it be nil? Nope. I could just do this. And nothing will ever match that, so it becomes a no-op. Why isn't this working? Oh, because it's the wrong package. Okay. I need to move that into int errors. That should solve it, I think. Yes, that is now working. But why did it take me here? Okay, I did it wrong. Oh, that's not how that works. It does work with version numbers, you silly thing. I don't remember how it works with version numbers. Let me check something. I have another project I can just check. Actually, no, I have in this project I could check. I think this is an example. Okay, it's Go 123 or Go 121 in this case. Now it takes me where I expect. Okay. So here we can see it failed for Go 1.18. We can look at the error message. Undefined errors.error unsupported, as expected. So this recent fix should make that work. Now, technically, I should write a test for this, right? I'm supposed to be doing TDD. I didn't write my test first. So let's comment out this code and then write a failing test and then make it pass again. I should have tests for this. I don't know why I don't. I have them in a different place. That's why. They're not in the same package for some reason. Whoops. Well, okay. So what's this method? Oh, that just calls the internal thing. Okay. So that's fine that the tests are there. Then let me add a test here. Now, there's a problem here. I'm going to have the same problem with this test that I just tried to solve the other thing, and that is that this won't run on older versions of Go. So now I have to figure out how do I want to solve that. Well, let's just make sure it works here first. So I expect the test to fail because I commented out that code. Whoa, I wasn't expecting all that. Now here's the failure I was expecting. I'm not sure what this is all about. Oh, actually, I do know what that's about. Something I need to fix later. I'll worry about that later. But for now, let's uncomment this and then see if the other test passes. And it looks like it does. So, now the question is, how do I want to test this so that it only works in Go 1.21? And I'm going to do this in runtime rather than a build time, right? No, I can't do that. I can't do that because it needs to compile. I have to do something similar. Hmm. It would be a lot easier if these tests were with the other package, because then I could reference that little alias I made, which I think is how I'm going to solve this. Okay, there's already a test file there. So rather than copying the file, I'm just going to copy this over here. And then this internal stuff can go away because it's in the same package now. Then I delete this. So now it's redundant. Doesn't mean my test coverage will go down theoretically because this one line will no longer be called in those particular tests, although in fact it's probably called somewhere else anyway. But I don't care about that because it's not really meaningful test coverage. Okay, test is passing, but I still have this issue that this needs to reference the right thing. So what this means is this test will run in all versions of Go, and it will pass in all versions of Go, even the versions of Go where it sets it to this unuseful thing. This test. So this test will use this value, and literally nothing else will. I'm okay with that. I don't know how else to solve that. If I really wanted to get around that, I would need to change the function to not even call this code. And arguably, that would be slightly more performant on old versions of Go. Ever so slightly. I don't care. I'm going to go with this. It's temporary code anyway, because eventually I'll be deleting the old implementation, once I no longer support versions 1.20 and older. So I'm going to go with this. All right, let's push that up. This should pass, I expect, since my tests are passing locally. But we'll find out. If something breaks, then we'll know. So once this is done and merged, then I can update the reference to that master, the main module in my submodule, which should mean that the test failures will get more verbose error messages. Got a new joiner. Welcome. Question is, what am I working on? I am working on a CouchDB compatibility layer for Postgres written in Go. Right now, we're running the tests on a pull request I just created to add some better error messages and better error handling. Oh, I don't care about that. It's showing it's showing code coverage went down, which I don't really care about. That's interesting. Oh, these are all the lines I changed that aren't covered. And of course they're not covered. They are the test suite themselves. So actually, these should be excluded from the test coverage report, I suppose, but whatever. Don't really care. It is curious that they're not covered, though. I'm not sure why that is. I think some of the tests aren't run during the coverage calculation, but it doesn't matter. Coverage is a vanity metric anyway, so I don't really care about that. It's just there as a sanity check. And because I'm listed in is it Awesome Go or something? Yeah, I think I'm listed on the Awesome Go repository, and they require 80% test coverage or some number. So I have it there to get that badge that they require. Mac OS versus Windows? Are you asking me? I don't use either one, so I don't have no opinion. All right, we're almost done here. I don't know. I keep refreshing. I feel like it makes it faster. Three remaining. 2. Do. 1. I could probably merge at this point. I would be very surprised if there's a bug that only affects skill 1.17, but it could happen, I suppose, but not what I was doing. Let me go ahead and mention again, since we're paused for a moment here, for the new joiners. If you're interested, I do a daily email, usually 5 days a week, about Go. You are welcome to join if you like. boldlygo.tech/daily. Type in your email address, and I'll send you some tips and stuff about Go every day. Right now, I'm doing a series about managing Go routines. So if that's interesting to you, go sign up. Love to have you on the list. Are we done? This one's being slow. Why is it slow? Did it get hung up? Sometimes they get stuck. Looks like it's still going. La la la. I need some sort of commentary track I can put in here. I don't know, while I'm waiting for things to compile. Maybe I need to compile a list of jokes ahead of time, and I can just start reading those when this happens. This does feel like it's taking too long at this point. I'm debating whether to cancel it and start it again. Or, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to skip it. I don't really care about it. I'm sure it's going to work. So let's just merge that sucker. Let's keep going. All right. Let's rebase this. Okay. Now I need to update my dependency. Go Kivik /Kivik /4. Need to be in a submodule first. Oh, finally got a comment on Twitch, and it's spam. Time to delete that guy. How do I report spam on Twitch? I'll figure that out later. See what the tests do this time. Oh, what? Why are the tests passing now? Oh, the tests are passing because I added the unimplemented thing. I guess. Well, that's nice. So my tests are passing. That's cool. So now I can start implementing stuff. Okay, I don't want that. What am I looking for? I'm looking for my IDE. Here we go. To choose which feature to do first. We'll do something simple. I don't have a whole lot of time left today, so let's see if we can do something simple. Is there a version? Yeah, let's do version. So, first part of TDD is to add a test that fails. So I'm going to basically remove the skip on that test. And now it should fail. Yay. So let's add support for that. That should be in client. Is there a version here? Yeah, a version right here. So we need to basically return this struct. It's pretty easy to do, obviously. Just do it like this. Now it's going to so it gives a different error now. Now it's telling me that the expected version is not set. So I need to set that. I need to configure my integration test, basically. I just don't remember how to do that. So we're going to check it out here. So I need to put this sort of configuration in here. So the version, I don't have a version defined yet. It uses a regular expression, so it's not so fragile as to every point release changes it. We need a vendor. I guess my vendor will be Kivik. Let me see what I did for the vendor in SQLite, if I even implemented that. Let's use the same vendor, whatever I did there. Yeah, I use Kivik, and so I have a constant here. I can just do the same thing for now. Eventually, I want that version to be the same version I use for everything else, but until it's released, I don't think it matters. So I'll just use that. So let's do version, vendor. What were the other fields? Do I care about any of them? Raw response, I don't really care about. No, I don't care about the other ones right now. Features, I'll probably never care about these. Well, I suppose I might. Features is a list of optional features that are enabled. If I support any of those features that CouchDB considers optional features, I might want to do that at that point, but for now, I don't want to do that. So let's make this 0.0. Let's do 0.0. Yeah, that's probably good enough. There we go. That was easy. Woohoo! We have a database driver that reports a version. Amazing. All right. I'm not sure where to get started. We have 13 minutes left, and there's not a whole lot we can probably do in that time frame, but we can make a plan for next time. So I suppose the first one I want to implement, maybe I'll start on it today, would be put. I'm just going to try to organize these in sort of priority order. Put is a good place to start. That's like a create. Get would be an obvious next one. I can't really do get first. I have to be able to create something before I can get it. So let's do put first, then get, and then probably delete makes sense next. And then closer related to put is create doc. So I could do that. I could do that first or anytime after. It doesn't really matter. Let's do it kind of like that. That'll kind of be my plan. That's probably at least 1 or 2 sessions, maybe more of this. Actually, before that, we need to connect to a Postgres instance. That could be something we work on today. Let me look quickly at how I handle that in SQLite. So I get So if I recall, the DSN, yeah, it's a full path to SQLite database file. So I would want to do the same sort of thing with Postgres. That is to say that it should basically be a full Postgres. Yeah, that's a good place to start. A full Postgres DSN that includes a database name. And if it doesn't include a database name, that would probably be an error. It would fail to start. So that's not tested by the test suite because that's like low level stuff, specific to the driver. But we could work on that. So I'm going to create a pg_test.go where I can put my new tests for this. So this is going to be testing new client, func test new client. Now, I don't know why this isn't complaining. It actually doesn't need to be like that. That's fine there. T testing.t, t.parallel. I'm going to make a to-do list of my tests. Stupid autocomplete. DSN does not include a database name. Should fail. DSN as URL as URL. Actually, before I decide which formats I want to support, I intend to use the PGX library for the most part. So I want to see what it supports. I think it supports both versions. So it supports the URL style. And I think it supports the other style too. Connection string, CPG con. There, that's what I want. PG con. Yeah, it supports both formats. All right. I suppose that's about it. I'm not actually going to establish the database connection here because there's no context. I will just validate that I get one that includes a database name that parses. I guess I could do an unparsable one. All right, so yeah, that should be pretty straightforward. So I don't know. I don't care about driver options right now. I don't know if I ever will. If I need driver options, I'll add that later. But for now, I just care about the DSN. So let's do this. Actually, all I care about here on input is DSN, and then whether or not I get an error, and possibly what the error status code is. Errors in Kivik have HTTP statuses assigned with them, since this is an HTTP interface. I think they would all have a 400 status assigned to them, but I want to validate that that's true. But it doesn't. I don't think it needs to be configurable. And then I don't really care about the error text either. So I think error bool is fine. And then here for TT. I suppose I can just use the DSN as the name. I don't know what all that is. I don't know if I care about it yet. So what I want to do, I'm going to discard the result. I just want error. And then, I need to, yeah, that's fine. It's going to use this PG thing here. That's fine. That's fine. Yep, I think that's okay. Something isn't happy about formatting. What's missing here? Do I have too many parentheses or close? No, that's not it. What is wrong? There we go. Okay. So let's just run that test. It shouldn't do anything since there's no actual test cases yet. Let's add one. This is going to fail because we don't get an error when we want one. Let me see if PGX provides any way to parse a DSN easily. Because it would be nice if I could parse that here rather than waiting till I connect. Parse config with options. Yeah, perfect. That's what I want. I don't really care about the options part, but the fact that it does parsing is quite handy. So this returns config and error. I don't actually care about the config right now. Let's return that. Let's do it like this. If error does not equal nil, return nil, comma error. Oh, but no, I need to return an error with the right status. And this isn't quite right. Let me see if I've done this before. Isn't that what that int error thing package was for? And yeah, internal error. And then internal is this package that I was playing with earlier. All right, that should work. Okay, I got the wrong import path there actually, and it's not in my Go mod file yet either. There we go. Cannot use nil. Oh, okay. So I have to pass an argument here even if I don't set anything, apparently. Do I want to set anything? Let me see what the options are. It doesn't like me right now. Let me reload. Why isn't it like that? Is it supposed to be not nil? Yeah, yeah, okay, it's just like this. But let me go ahead and see if I want to change anything here. Oh, there's only one option, and that is get SSL password. Yeah, whatever. I don't need that. I suppose I might want to enable that sort of capability in the future if someone wants to use SSL for passwords, and that would be the case where I would use driver to options, but I'm not going to mess with that right now. All right, the test is passing. Let's go ahead and commit this. validate pgdsn on init. Right, now let's also, I just did that one. Now what I don't know, can I get the database name? Oh yeah, perfect. So I can just check. So I want to get config. Well, let me write the test first. So this is going to be, I'm going to add a name here just to make this a little more explicit. Makes it more obvious what I'm testing for. Name valid DSN with URL with missing DB name. Okay. So this should fail also. If I run the test, it's probably going to pass now. I mean, the test is failing because the function passes. So let's fix that. This is called config. If config.database equals blah, then return. And this should just be errors.new. Yeah, that should be fine. All right. And let's also do, well, I could do a key value pair version also, but I'm not testing my code at that point. I'm testing parse configuration with options, which I don't need to write tests for someone else's code. So let's go ahead and commit that. And now we'll do one that passes. Now I'm just going to save DSN. I'm not worried. I'm no longer worried about parsing both versions, since I know this library does that. I could have two tests for that, but again, I wouldn't be testing my code. So let's just do this and error false. This should already pass, actually. It's not. Status. Oh. The status thing. So if error, okay, this just needs to go inside of this. I just had my test slightly wrong. All right, now notice we're not actually using this configuration for anything yet. Like, we're returning a client that still doesn't know anything about that string. All we've done is validate it. We haven't actually connected to database. So that will be, let me add that to my to-do list so we know where to pick up next time. For some reason, my to-do list lives here right now. I'll just add that to the previous commit. I'm going to go ahead and push this up and probably merge this. Oops. There's no reason not to merge it. It's working as it is. I mean, it's obviously incomplete. Nobody can use this code yet, but it's valid code. It doesn't break anything. It's safe to merge. So I'm going to push this up there. I'll create a pull request and merge it. And then next time, we'll continue on this project with connecting to the database. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. It's fun to be back doing this after more than a year away. So I look forward to seeing you all hopefully next week.